Okay, Clover Tribe. It turns out, society has been lying to your face. Since the playground we've been told popularity is the goal. Most friends wins. A packed calendar means you're thriving, and quiet weekends alone means something is wrong with you. But here's the glitch nobody discusses. The people who actually changed the world, the inventors, the visionaries, almost none of them were the most popular person in the room. What if having one friend, or zero, isn't a failure? What if it's a signal? A rare psychological fingerprint most people never develop because they're too busy performing. Today, we're breaking down 8 traits found in people who move through life with very few or no close friends. By number 1, you'll see yourself in a completely different light. I'm Willow. This is The Clever Clover, and we are going in. Look at this map. This is your rare architecture, the truth about why you move differently. We aren't looking at a social deficit here. We're looking at a high-level internal operating system. First, we explore your rare architecture. This is where hyper-selectivity meets emotional independence. You don't need a crowd to feel whole, and you definitely don't let just anyone into your inner sanctum. Then, there's the system of depth. If you have a total small talk allergy, it's because your brain is wired for intellectual depth. You're trading surface-level noise for high-fidelity signal. We'll also decode the high empathy paradox. People think loners are cold, but it's the opposite. It's radical authenticity fueled by ferocious loyalty. When you finally do choose a friend, it's a soul-level connection. Finally, we hit elite pattern recognition. This is the engine behind your self-awareness and your total comfort in solitude. You see the world for what it actually is, not what people pretend it to be. This isn't a list of flaws. It's a blueprint of your power. Let's dive into the first pillar. Number 8. Something that gets misread constantly. Hyper-selectivity. People with few friends aren't unfriendly or broken. They're selective in a way most brains aren't wired to be. Most people form friendships through proximity. See someone enough times, boom, friend. Automatic. Hyper-selectivity means your brain has a higher threshold. You're scanning, almost unconsciously, for depth, for someone whose wavelength actually matches yours. Think of it like a tuning fork. Most forks resonate with anything around them, but some only vibrate at their exact frequency. Everything else passes through in silence. The payoff? People who make it through your filter get the real you, not a performance, the actual you. Your connections are often more profound than what most socially successful people experience across a lifetime. Your small circle isn't a limitation. It's a masterpiece of curation. Number 7. This one hits differently. Internal processing depth. You know those people who leave a party and spend the next 2 days replaying every conversation, every pause, every word choice? That's not always anxiety. At its core, it's a brain processing experience at a fundamentally different depth, like running the same input through a completely different processor. Psychologists call this high internal processing, linked to sensory processing sensitivity found in roughly 15 to 20% of humans. These people catch emotional undercurrents mid-sentence. They notice what people don't say. They replay scenes to extract meaning others never look for. When you're picking up 10 layers of subtext, a 2-hour gathering isn't 2 hours. Neurologically, it's a 20-hour mental event. Fewer friends isn't rejection, it's calibration. Your brain at high resolution needs recovery time most people don't understand. This isn't a flaw, this is a superpower with a power bill. Number 6. This one explains a lot. You are psychologically allergic to surface-level interaction. Researchers call it interaction dissatisfaction, the flatness, sometimes genuine distress, after a conversation that stayed on the surface. Weather, weekend plans, you know the script. For most people, fine, socially useful. For you, it feels like eating food with zero nutritional value. You went through the motions of connection without actually connecting. That feeling isn't snobbery, it's a documented psychological state. Studies show people craving substantive dialogue experience significantly higher well-being after meaningful conversation. but significantly lower well-being after small talk than average. Small talk isn't just boring you, it's draining you. Most early friendships are almost entirely small talk. The energy cost to reach real connection is enormous. And most people never survive your patience threshold. That's not coldness, that's filtering for real. Number 5. This is where it gets really interesting. Self-containment. Most people need external input to regulate their emotional state. They need to talk it through, be seen, get a response. Nothing wrong with that. It's deeply human. But some people have developed a fully functioning internal regulation system. They can process grief, excitement, and confusion largely within themselves. Not suppressing, their internal world is simply rich enough to work with. Psychologists link this to a strong internal locus of control, the belief that your experiences originate from inside you, not from the outside world. People here are more resilient, more flexible, and less dependent on social relationships to feel whole, because you don't need people to regulate you, the ones you let in. You're choosing them for joy, not survival. You're in your friendships by pure, deliberate choice. That makes the love entirely different. Number 4, halfway through. The one that costs people the most socially. Radical authenticity. Most humans perform automatically, not manipulation, survival. You adjust your personality and opinions depending on who you're with. Code switching, mirroring, normal. But some people have an incredibly low tolerance for this, because performing a self that isn't entirely real feels, neurologically, like wearing the wrong skin, an internal friction impossible to sustain. Brené Brown's research shows people with high authenticity scores report fewer but far more meaningful relationships. Not because they drove people away, but because they stopped performing. The people who stayed for actual reasons. The brutal trade-off? You'll never be universally liked. The mask is the ticket to universal approval, and you lost yours early. But the people who like you? They like the real you, unperformed, untouched. That's not demanding. That's knowing your worth. Number 3, top tier. These last 3 traits cluster in people who do extraordinary things. A deep creative inner life. People who spend significant time alone often develop an internal world of extraordinary richness. This isn't metaphor, it's neuroscience. The default mode network, most active when you're not focused on external demands, handles imagination, narrative construction, and creative synthesis. The brain's creative engine. It runs hardest when social noise is off. People with lower social contact spend more time here. The more it fires, the stronger it gets, giving the person with few friends a default mode network more developed than average. The result is a mind generating ideas that socially saturated people don't have bandwidth for. The daydreamer told to pay attention, a creative engine scolded for not acting like a search engine. Tesla, Kafka, Dickinson, solitary, not broken, building. Solitude isn't emptiness, it's where everything real gets made. Number 2, the most misunderstood trait on this list, the high empathy paradox. What the world assumes about people with few friends. Cold, emotionally unavailable, distant. Research shows the precise opposite. Many low social individuals don't have too little empathy. They have too much. Empathic overload describes absorbing others' emotional states so completely it becomes physically destabilizing. A room full of anxious people restructures their entire internal state. They leave feeling like they lived everyone's experience, because neurologically, they very nearly did. The highly empathic person needs distance because they care too completely. They can't witness pain without carrying it. Every sadness in the room becomes their sadness. Think of it as an emotional sponge with no off switch. It needs time alone and still to wring itself out. If this lands for you, this is not weakness. The world needs people who actually feel you are not broken, you are receiving. And finally, we come to number 1. The rarest trait of all. The one that changes how you see your entire life. You see patterns most people are too distracted to notice. Social behavior is cognitively expensive. Managing a large network requires enormous bandwidth, tracking relationships, reputations, hierarchies. A massive operating system running constantly. When you remove that demand, the energy redirects into observation, pattern recognition, and thinking that lets you see not just what's happening, but why. Not just what someone said, but what it meant. Researchers studying solitary thinkers document this consistently. Pattern seers who looked at the same world as everyone else and saw something entirely different, because they were quiet enough to look. Your low social overhead isn't loneliness, it's bandwidth. What you've been doing with it is building a way of seeing the world most people never access. This is the trait that made every visionary. It has been living inside you this entire time. All right, Clover Tribe, let's land this. 8 traits: hyper-selectivity, internal processing depth, allergy to the shallow, self-containment, radical authenticity, a deep creative inner life, the high empathy paradox, and the rarest, the pattern seer's bandwidth living where social noise used to be. These traits reinforce each other. Deep processors see patterns. Radically authentic people carry hyper-empathy. Performance and empathy can't share the same space. Self-contained people build bandwidth for rich inner worlds. It's your system. That system was never broken. It was always a rare architecture. Society had no template, so instead of the truth, it handed you a diagnosis: not enough friends. You were built for depth, to see what most people walk directly past. You don't need a packed social calendar to be whole. I'm Willow, and until next time, trust your quiet. It's usually where your clearest answers live. And mind yourself. I'll see you in the next one.